Attending influencer events is a great way to create exciting content, meet potential brand partners, and network with the creator community. But how can you get invited to these events, and how do they really work? In today's video, I'm sharing everything you need to know about influencer events, from scoring invites to maintaining relationships long after they're over. If you're new here, I'm a full-time fashion and beauty micro-influencer based in New York City, and I use this channel to help you create great content, grow your digital brand, and earn sustainable income from content creation. So if any of that interests you, please consider subscribing. In my 10 years as a content creator, I've been lucky enough to attend events here in New York City hosted by brands like Amazon, Laneige, Therese, Sabone, and so many more. I'm going to walk you through the 3 big elements of attending brand events, which are getting invited in the first place, what to do when you're actually in attendance, and how to build and maintain those relationships after the events end. Let's get into it, starting with how to get invited. Many brands work with PR agencies to host their events, so of course you'll want to start your networking process here. There are a few different ways to find PR companies based in your local area, and as with most things in my life, I typically start this research process with a Google search. I recommend typing in the phrase PR agencies and then including the name of the city you're based in, the largest city near where you live, or potentially a city that you're planning to visit. I know a lot of influencers who do not live in big cities who make it a point to visit New York or LA every once in a while to meet some brands in person and do some networking. That said, even if you live in a small town, there will always be events hosted by local boutiques, stores, brands, and more. So after you've done a Google search, then I would move on to Facebook groups. And Facebook groups of other bloggers or content creators are a great place to learn more about who hosts events and which PR agencies represent which brands. I will put a few Facebook groups on the screen that I'm a part of that I do recommend joining if you can, because I do find them to be a really valuable resource, especially when I am doing outreach like this. Another place you can look for contacts is on PR Newswire, which is a website that often publishes press releases for different businesses. So you can do a search on there to find contacts and to find brands who may be throwing events that you would be interested in attending. And of course, there's always LinkedIn as well. So you can search for people with titles like events coordinator or influencer relations manager and see if you can get in touch with them to send them an email and let them know that you'd be interested in attending events that they host in the future. Now, I know I just mentioned sending an intro email, so naturally you're probably wondering, what should I say when I reach out? Let me give you an outline of what I would recommend including in an introductory email to a PR agency. First, I would do a 1-sentence introduction that includes where you live, what type of content you create, and what categories of content you create for, such as beauty, fashion, home, or lifestyle. If you're reaching out to this PR agency because you like one of the brands that they represent in particular, mention that brand in their email. You can often go to the PR agency's website to see who their current clients are and which brands they currently represent. This shows that you've done some research and checked out who they represent. Then ask to be added to their email list, because typically a PR agency will compile a list of email addresses to send out news, information about product launches, and of course to invite people to events. And finally, I do recommend linking to a piece of content that maybe features a brand, or at least a brand in a similar category of the brands that they represent, ideally at an event, but if not, just to give them an example of your content creation style. I think one of the biggest mistakes that influencers make is only reaching out to brand partners when they want something from them, and so by doing this, you are laying the groundwork to build a future relationship at a time where you're not directly asking for anything from the brand. You're just asking to be kept in the loop and to kind of start building that relationship with them, which could lead to more opportunities, paid or unpaid, later on. Once you have an established relationship with a brand, then you can go ahead and pitch them to attend events or do brand partnerships or whatever else you'd like to do to collaborate. I do recommend only pitching brands that you have an established relationship with, because after you have a relationship with them, then you can pitch yourself for events, brand deals, and other opportunities. And if you're looking to level up your pitch game, you can pick up my ebook Right on Pitch, where I go much more in detail about my pitching strategy, provide you with email templates, and so much more. Once you're in touch with a few different PR agencies and you start receiving invitations for events, let's talk about what to do on the day of an influencer event. Before you head out to the event, reread the email that you received with your invitation to confirm all of the details of what you need to know before you head out the door. Some of the details you'll want to confirm before walking out the door are the location of the event, the start and end time of the event, if the company has included any Uber codes or other transportation notes, and if there will be food or drinks there, so you know how much to eat beforehand or whether food will be provided for you at the event itself. This is a bit of an extra step, but I do find that often it pays off for me, which is that I like to Google the venue of where the event is being hosted before I go, so that I can coordinate my outfit to match the event space. And I know it sounds a little bit silly, but you'd be surprised how many people compliment you for wearing the brand colors or matching the location. And it does show that you've gone the extra mile to do some research before you left the house. And if you happen to have any clothing that does align with the brand's color palette, I find that this is always a conversation starter and a smart thing to try to wear to an event. I recently attended an event with Amika here in New York City, and they are all about fun and vibrant colors like red and pink. And I saw their new product that they were launching was including basically a bunch of like red, pink, and orange colors. So I did wear a red-orange t-shirt to the event, and I fit right in. I also find it helpful to look up the name of the person who invited me to the event on LinkedIn so I can see their photos so that I will recognize them if they are at the event. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. And also just take a quick gauge at their work experience, see if they've been at the company for a long time or if it's a new job for them, and see what other background they have in case we have any overlaps and there's anything to talk about. One other tip I've learned over the years that has really served me well is if you are taking public transportation to an event, as I often am, to use the arrive by feature on Google Maps and set it for 5 minutes earlier than you'd actually like to be there to make sure that you are catching the right trains, buses, ferries, whatever you need to catch in order to get to the event when you want to get there. Whenever possible, I know it's not always possible, but I do like getting to events right when they start so that I can say hi to the brand representative without a ton of people in the way, take pictures and photos of the space before it fills up with people, and be first in line for any experiences or activations that are happening at the event, like photo booths, manicures, braid bars, whatever else may be going on. These are just some examples from events that I've attended. When you're at the event, keep an eye out for any signage, or sometimes it's on the bar menu, cocktail napkins, things like that, that include any Instagram handles or Instagram hashtags that the brand wants you to include in any content that you create. I do think it's important to tag the brands and to use the branded hashtags for the event, because PR people in the morning, usually after the event, will look through those hashtags to see who was actually in attendance and who created content at their events. Of course, you want to enjoy the event in real time when you're there, so I recommend taking any photos or videos on your camera roll rather than directly on TikTok or Instagram stories, and you can always go through later, kind of go through that content, pick out the best images and videos, and then upload it to Instagram, TikTok, or whatever other platforms you may be covering the event on. I typically will go through to edit and upload photos and videos either on the subway or the bus coming back from an event, and I do recommend that if you are planning to post coverage of the event that you attended, that you do so within 24 hours of attending it. That is usually peak buzz and peak press for the brand, and the PR agencies will appreciate any content that you've created being posted and shared kind of within that time frame. Now, the following day, I do think that it is always a good idea to send a quick thank you note to the brand representative or PR agency representative who invited you to the event to thank them for including you in the activity. Now, the day after an event, I always think it is a good idea to send a quick, thoughtful thank you email to the person who invited you to the event. This is another reason to get your content created and uploaded very soon after the event, because I would recommend including a link to any content you posted from the event so that the PR person or the brand representative can easily find and see that content. You can probably imagine that the next morning, the higher-ups at those companies will be asking the people who threw the event, what coverage did we get from this? How many Instagram stories? How many uses of the hashtag? And so if you're giving them some of that information, you're making their job easier and you're making yourself look good because you got invited to the event and went out of your way to create some content for it. Sometimes you will look at your inbox the morning after the event and you'll already have received a press release from the person who invited you, kind kind of recapping the event, maybe linking to a Dropbox of photographs taken at the event if they had a professional photographer there. And so if that email comes in before you have the chance to reach out, as long as it came from the email of someone who you actually know is a real person, you can reply to that email and put your thank you note and content links there. If you were able to take home any of the brand's products after the event, keep them in mind and think about potential content ideas that you could create using those products in the future, because that will be a great way to build an ongoing relationship with a brand and show them that you actually used the products that they provided to you. If you get a lot of products, especially I know beauty creators, we get a lot of products, I actually recommend creating a spreadsheet to track all of your incoming products. This is something that I did in my days as a beauty editorial intern and that I still do now in my business, where I track products that come in, I track the brand that gave them to me, I say if I am going to test the product or give it away, if for some reason it's a duplicate or I know it's not right for my skin type or skin tone, any of those reasons. And I also list out if I'm going to create content around the product too. If a brand ever emails me in the future to follow up and say, how did you like that dry shampoo or moisturizer, I can literally pull the product up in my spreadsheet, see whether I've been testing it or not, and give them an answer right away. I do actually have this resource exclusively available in my Patreon community, so if you're ever interested in that, there's always a link to join down below in the description box. But the long story short is that creating content using the products a brand gave you is a great way to build and maintain a relationship with them, and even send them a follow-up email a month later to say, hey, I've been using the dry shampoo you guys gave me and I absolutely love it. Would love to be kept in mind for more events and news about this product, and of course, brand partnerships as well. If you have any additional questions about attending influencer events, leave a comment below this video and I'll do my best to read and reply to as many of those as I can. And be sure to check out the on-screen up next recommendations for more tips about pitching and working with brands and building those relationships. If you're not already, please consider subscribing to my channel for new videos every Tuesday. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.